Now this is another one of my favorite views of downtown Houston. It's a beautiful day out here. This is one side of the bayou, downtown, University of Houston downtown campus, this trail. And I got this bench, my book. I'm gonna post up and talk to you guys for a few minutes. You know, I haven't done a walk and talk in, wow, I don't think I've done a walk and talk all of 2023. For those who don't know, walk and talk just means, a video where you walk and talk. Kind of popular in some circles, a sort of genre of videos. And I started doing some last year to just not only allow myself to blow off some steam and talk about things in maybe a more casual, less kind of serious, less scripted manner than my documentaries or my podcasts and interviews and stuff like that. And I've just been so busy this year, 2023, that I really don't think I've done one at all. But here we are going into November 2023, and I wanted to go ahead and do one because I actually just am coming off of a break. I took a month-long break in some ways from producing new content. And I want to talk to you guys about that for a moment before I talk about all the new content I'm producing after taking a month off. But I really, I've just been, some of you who've heard me speak and talk about my struggles with mental health and drugs and stuff like that, then you know that I've struggled with mental health and drugs and stuff like that. And it's still something that, not drugs, but depression and just self-worth and I don't know how to put it, but just, doubt and all these things that I think we each experience on a different level, and some of us are easier to shake than others. And I definitely handle it much better now as a 38-year-old man than I did when I was a 15-year-old confused teenager, or even an early 20s confused young adult, young man. I'm not drowning my sorrows and my fears and my doubts and insecurities in drugs and alcohol or sex or distractions of various kind. There's still work to be done, of course, but yeah, I've learned a little bit about processing my shit and how to, and that's part of my message of the conscious resistance as well. What I do with my journalism, with my public speaking, and all of my work. It's about that conscious evolution. That so-called conscious resistance is really just getting to know your own doubts, fears, and insecurities at the same time as we work to expose the crimes and the criminals in the physical realm, so that we're doing that healing internally from our trauma, as well as exposing the darkness in the physical realm. It's like they're reflecting each other. We have to do both. So my point is, this has all been a part of my journey. And when I took this break, it was for multiple reasons. Like I said, I took a break in a way that maybe doesn't look like a break to a lot of people. I took a break to work on a new book project, which I'm going to tell you guys in just a moment, and I needed a break from just producing new content, video reports, and just focusing on that, as well as starting to work on the Greater Reset, which I'm going to tell you guys in just a moment as well. And so I took a break to work on the Greater Reset, to start working on my new book. I continued to write weekly articles for The Last American Vagabond, as I always do, with Ryan Christian. You can always find me there if you're not already reading my articles there. But I just need a little bit of a break from doing videos. However, in that break, I confronted Peter Hotez 2 times. I talked to RFK Jr. once. I released an interview with NBC's senior reporter, misinformation expert Brandy Zadrozny, and a couple other things, did some other things. But nonetheless, that break has come to an end, and I am now back at it, continuing to write articles for T-Lab, Last American Vagabond, and this week started releasing new video reports for The Conscious Resistance. I'm also working on new episodes of my podcast, The Activation Podcast, which I launched in 2021. It is my effort to talk about solutions and empowerment, not just to be another podcast talking about the problems and things like that, which, again, we're going to talk about the Greater Reset in a couple of moments. The Greater Reset is also all about solutions. So this is really the way I roll. I try to promote solutions in different areas and see how we can support each other. But nonetheless, I was taking this break to work on those things, but I was also, in that break, I really was feeling kind of depressed and like doubting my purpose and doubting by the way, if I'm like sweating here, I just finished riding my bike here and the sun's like starting to come out on me. But I was starting to doubt my purpose and why am I doing this independent journalism? You know, I'm not really making a lot of money really at all. And I'm not reaching as many people as I'd like. This, you know, just that self-doubt, and, you know, some people call it imposter syndrome. You know, you could say that negative self-talk, which I think is part of it. And this is something I've dealt with throughout my life in different ways, and having to kind of get a grip on my own mind and say, hey, fuck you, you know, I'm in control. You know, that was the way I handled it in the past. These days, I think it's more about finding those parts of yourself that doubt you, and, you know, the doubt your own self and your own path, and that, you know, that voice that wants to plant negativity and mistrust and seed these things in your mind, which is what it does for me. It starts saying, you know, what if that person's going to screw you over, or they're going to cheat on you, or they're lying about that, or this person's trying to do something behind your back, or whatever it could be, and then get me just thrown off on my game, right? I mean, these are things that I had to struggle with for a long time to really find a useful way to navigate through, you know, without doing drugs, or, as I said, finding other ways to play escapism and do escapism. So I've struggled with those things, and it just comes up periodically that because of the social media banning and the shadow banning, and, you know, I just put up recently, we had the 5-year anniversary of the purge, the alternative media purge that happened in 2018. I posted about that recently on some of my social media, and, you know, that hit a lot of my friends. Like, truly, like, I know people who I'm having conversations with who've been in this fight for liberty and truth and justice for over a decade, and are, you know, have made money and been successful to different degrees at different times. But again, now because of the shadow banning and the attacks on being able to share the truth online, many of us have lost our incomes, you know. And for me, I'm lucky enough to work with Ryan, Last American Vagabond, and Ryan does such hard work that he has a pretty big support base. But even that, you know, that could disappear at any moment. We could be banned off certain platforms, as we have been in the past with PayPal and Patreon and other things like that, and all that could be gone. And my point here is that it breaks my heart to not only to hear from other good friends of mine who are really like truth and freedom warriors, who are having to decide, like, hey man, I think I might have to hang it up, dude. Like, I don't think I can keep doing this. I love fighting for truth, but I got new kids and family, and I got to take care of them. And how am I going to do that if I'm just, you know, focusing on writing articles that nobody's going to read, or producing content that nobody seems to give a shit about? Or if they do see it and it gets seen by 1 million people, you don't necessarily get paid for that. You know, that's what people sometimes fail to understand. You can be famous on the internet and you're not necessarily getting a dime for that. I mean, of course, the smartest people, you find a way to monetize your work and sponsors and what have you. But the point is, like, it's not always just that easy. And so it can be very difficult out here to survive. And, you know, I am surviving with the help of the Last American Vagabond, and with the help of some of you out there with donations, and book sales are just, you know, they're steady, they come in. It's not paying all my bills yet, but I think that might change in the coming future. And I'm not here trying to boo-hoo this and that. I'm just telling you the realities of what I've been dealing with the last couple months, to anyone who might give a shit. And I really was just like, man, I don't know if I'm going to keep doing journalism. Like, I love doing it, but maybe I'm just, not that I'm wasting my time, because I know I have reached so many people, and if I was to stop today, I would leave behind a legacy of books that I'm proud of, and documentaries, and more that are already on the way that I'm proud of. And if I did nothing else, I would be grateful just for that for the rest of my life. So it's not even that. I know I've done valuable work, so you don't need to tell me that, even though I appreciate it. I'm not doubting myself in that regard. I'm just, you know, I have other interests. I'm just not sure if journalism is my only purpose. And I know that many people, you chase a dream, and maybe you find that dream, and then once you live that dream, it's like, okay, here I am. I've always wanted to be a scientist. I'm going to be a scientist now for the rest of my life, and do that for 40, 50, whatever years till you retire, or an actress, or whatever it may be. But I'm not really like that. I am an artist of different types. I'm an artist with my word. I like to write books. I like to write speeches. I like to write music. I like to write poems and scripts and come up with ideas for books and movies and all kinds of things. And that's just the way that I operate. And so journalism is one expression of that. But I'm also a musician. And for those of you who know, I've been making hip hop for the last couple of years, and I've been also a singer in metal and punk bands for most of my life as a younger adult. And yeah, my point here is I have other passions and things I want to pursue. And I know that I'm so grateful for how far I've been able to take my path and my career as a independent journalist and traveling around the world, speaking in Europe and South America and Central America and across the United States. And I'm so grateful for that. And I want to continue that. I would also love to be able to do that for my music. You know, it would be, I have played some places and traveled doing some of my music, but I just realized that if I want to play to big ass crowds of people and have them chanting my music, my words back to me, which is one of my goals, just like one of my goals is to have my book read by millions of people or my documentary seen by millions of people. These are all goals that's within the same person here. And if I want to see that come to fruition and if I want to succeed, first off, check out how beautiful this like garden area is over here. It's pretty dope. Just all of this. I mean, there's no like food. I just mean it's like nice and peaceful. But if I want to succeed in that regard, then I realize I need to put just as much time and energy into my music and my other passions as I have with journalism since 2010. You know, my activism started in 2009, 2010. I started doing real citizen journalism 2011, 2012. By 2013, I was getting paid to write articles and started taking it very seriously. It's been a decade now of doing this, and I'm grateful because of all it's taken me, like I just expressed a moment ago. And I've been making music my whole life, but I've only been doing hip hop for about 3-4 years, and definitely not full time, not 10 hours a day or more like I do with journalism and activism. So I've just been having all those reflections, and I don't think I'm giving up journalism yet. I still have lots of projects like I'm about to share about now, but I am going to be putting a lot more energy into my music, and I'll tell you more about that at the end of the video. So the last thing I'll say before we share about these upcoming projects I've got is one of the reasons I've been so busy, and it's kind of coming to an end, is the Houston election. So since I haven't done a walk and talk in a while, I'll tell you, I live in Mexico, Morelia, Mexico. We do the Greater Reset every January. We did it in January 2023, and it was amazing and a beautiful time. I came to Houston after that to consider whether or not I should run for mayor of Houston again. I did this in 2019, and I had some meetings with friends and supporters, and overwhelmingly they told me they wanted me to run again. So I decided to do that. I started making plans and making visits back and forth, and then we moved back full time. And I've been here over the whole summer campaigning full time since June. And unfortunately, as most of you guys know by now, I was kicked off of the mayoral ballot because of my 18-year-old nonviolent felony that I got when I was 20 years old for drug possession, when I was addicted to crystal meth. And even though I ran in 2019, you know, they kicked me off. Nonetheless, we got kicked off, and my team and I have continued to campaign, quote unquote, but not for Derrick Broze and my ideas, but for Proposition A, which is going to be on the ballot in Houston in just a couple of weeks. It's early voting's already going on, and the election's on November 7th. And you guys know me, if for those who do know me and my work, I'm an anarchist, an agorist. I believe in building parallel systems outside of the mainstream corporate and political systems. I didn't run for office because I think we're going to fix things within the system. I think a lot of people misunderstand that. I ran for office to expose how corrupt and broken the system is, and to reach new people, and maybe by some chance win and actually do something good. Obviously, I was prevented from doing so, but I just want to make that clear. I vote in local elections because I think it's important to get involved locally. But I will also want to make it clear, I'm not voting for mayor, I'm voting for Proposition A. I'm not going to be voting for mayor because I ran for mayor, because I'm the only person I can trust, and there's no other candidate that's saying the things that I was talking about and willing to do the things that I was willing to do. So I'm not voting for mayor, but I am telling people to vote for Proposition A, which myself and plenty of other people fought for and have been fighting for years. It would allow 3 city council members out of 16 to add agenda items to the weekly city council agenda. And that might sound, okay, what the hell does that mean? It sounds boring, it sounds procedural, administrative, it's not very sexy or exciting, but the reality is that it would be very powerful for Houston. If we're able to do that, that would break the stranglehold that the mayor, which currently is Sylvester Turner, the 5G champion that I've been exposing for years, super corrupt guy, but whoever the mayor, he or she is, they currently are the only person that can add agenda items to the council agenda. So when I wanted to come in and talk about getting fluoride out of the water or slowing down the 5G rollout, that's not something they want to talk about. And since it's not on the official agenda, I get put at the end of the meeting, nobody listens to me, and I'm laughed out of the room. But if you're actually an agenda item, they have to listen to you. You go first, and there can actually be discussions, and maybe even potentially votes, resolutions. Things can happen, you know, actually representing the people on a local level. But currently in Houston, that's not how things go. The mayor is basically a dictator. So Proposition A would change that. It would allow 3 council members to add items to the weekly agenda. So yeah, I am passionate about it because to me, this is like, wow, how often do you get a chance to kind of reduce the power of the local, basically the president of your city, the mayor, reduce his power a little bit and make it so he or she is not a local dictator, and give the city council members, which are ostensibly supposed to represent you and the people in Houston, whether or not they do or not is a whole nother discussion, but that's what we're told they're there for, right? Well, why not try to actually make them serve that purpose and do that and fight for you? And once that passes, which I'm confident it's going to, then even though I will be back in Mexico, when I come back and forth to Houston, I'm going to be helping and working with some activists. We're going to try to get rid of fluoride again in Houston. And I think we can get it done once Proposition A passes and council members can actually have a chance to speak up for us and maybe introduce a resolution to not re-sign the contract to add fluoride to Houston's water. So that's kind of what I'm working on. And now that that's coming to an end and my campaign is over, our promoting Prop A campaign is almost over. I'm going to be just back, like I said, focusing more on the Greater Reset and some other projects. But I do want to mention that my campaign for mayor, even though that was ended, I did just officially launch a lawsuit. I talked about this a couple months ago when I was officially denied off the ballot on August 21st when I was removed from the ballot, and said that, hey, we're really considering a lawsuit. And at first I wasn't going to do it, but I talked to some friends and talked to some supporters who said they were willing to help fund it, because this is going to be, it's going to take probably $20,000, $15,000 to $20,000 to fight this all the way up potentially to the Supreme Court. And after consulting with more people and talking with an attorney who I'm going to continue to work with, we decided to do it, and we filed our lawsuit last Monday. And it's now official. The Houston Chronicles reported on it. I just did an interview this morning with Fox 26 Houston. That'll probably air today or tomorrow. I think the Houston Landing is going to report on it, and Houston Public Media 88.7, they reached out to me as well. And basically what we're arguing is that Texas's election code is in conflict with the US Constitution and the Texas State Constitution, and that my offense, my drug offense, is not a quote-unquote high crime, which are supposed to be crimes that offend moral turpitude. And this is supposed to be like dishonesty, bribery, treason, things like that. And that drug use, although it has a stigma in society, is not the same thing as a high crime, especially in my particular case, nonviolent drug use from 20 years ago, and I've turned my life around. I'm not a continued criminal, all that kind of stuff. So we're going to be making that argument and a couple other arguments. The lawsuit's official now. I'll put the info, the fundraiser below for anybody who wants to donate. We would appreciate it. $5, $10, $20, whatever you can do. Basically, if I win, this would change Texas election code and force them to clarify the election code, which ideally they would say, hey, once you do your time, nonviolent felons are allowed to have their quote-unquote right to run for office. And look, trust me, I said this in the last video, I get it. I don't believe the government has my right to run for office in a drawer somewhere, just waiting to give it back to me. If I just fill out this paperwork and ask nicely, or I file a lawsuit, here you go, sir, here's your right to run for office again, you can have that back. And here's a little stamp and a certificate for you. I don't know. I think that's silly, it's stupid, and I recognize that. Creator has given me my rights as a human being to represent myself, to speak freely, to connect and organize with other free humans. What this is about is fighting back against the state, getting media attention, like I've already discussed is happening, which in turn gets more media attention on my work and getting people to question the systems around them, hopefully checking my journalism out and my books and all that good stuff. That's what this is about. And also because I genuinely do care about this issue. I am a felon in the eyes of the system, and I already have to deal with housing restrictions. It's very difficult for me to get a house in some places because of my 18-year-old felony. And because I'm an entrepreneur and independent journalist, I don't really have to deal with the job search as much like some people do. But this disqualifying me from the race was just one example of how felons are fucked with in Texas and many other places. And so if I can fight this lawsuit and you guys can help me fund it, then we could overturn this bad law, and maybe felons like myself who have made mistakes or maybe genuinely committed crimes when they were younger and turned their lives around can actually have a chance to fight for their communities in one way. Now, that's again not to say that the system's the best or the only way to fight for your community, because I've been fighting for my community for 13 years, and that doesn't mean running for office. I just want to make that clear. You don't have to run for office or be in government, et cetera, to be fighting for your community. So many other people fight for their community in different ways. Anyway, so yeah, lawsuit, all that's going on. And what else do I got? Got something else. Man, it's a beautiful day here. I hope that the wind's not killing our sound too much. Had to take notes here. The lawsuit, the Greater Reset 5, guys. So I launched, along with John Bush and Ramiro Romani and the Freedom Cell Network, we launched the Greater Reset activation in fall of 2020. The first event, our first activation, took place January 2021 in Mexico, Zihuatanejo, Mexico, and in Austin, Texas. And we've been hosting these events now for 4 years. Coming up in January 2024 will be our 5th event. What we do is we bring together some of the most powerful, thought-provoking minds and thought leaders from around the world. This is really an international event in 5 different areas: health, mental, physical, spiritual, permaculture and food independence, building parallel networks, getting off big tech, and community building tools like homesteading or organizing tips and all kinds of things. And for 5 days, we share this information. We have a live audience in Texas, a live audience in Mexico. It's streamed for free online at thegreaterreset.org. And we just drop mad information, mad knowledge, all solutions focused, no discussions on the problems and all the bad things that we know are going on. It's all solutions focused. And I'm so grateful to say we're coming up to our 5th event, as I mentioned, January 17th to the 21st, 2024. This year, we're only doing 1 event. It's going to be in Morelia, Mexico, which is where I live half the year, most of the year. And we are about to be launching early bird ticket sales on November 11th. So it's going to go on sale for $150 US, just $150 for 5 days of more. We're going to have at least 40 speakers, music. There's going to be workshops going around. Last year we had 350 people from 15 different countries. We're expecting at least 500 this year. And it's an amazing time to connect from an international audience of people who are looking for solutions, people who are looking for community, people who want to buy land, people who want to grow food, action-oriented people, not just people who want to come and sit on their butts and talk and, complain or, act like we're all screwed and there's nothing we can do. No, screw that. We are going to change the direction of our future. We are going to manifest the 2030 that we want. We're going to build something better for the coming generations so they don't have to live in the smart cities like Houston, like they're trying to turn Houston into. That they can actually have a path towards liberty, individual liberty, bodily autonomy, privacy, and all the values that we hold dear. But it's not going to happen if we don't fight for it. And the Greater Reset is our effort. We actually meet at the same time as the World Economic Forum. And instead of paying attention to Klaus Schwab and all those boring folks, listen to the Greater Reset, the People's Reset. This year, our theme is manifestation, as we're going from activation to integration to expansion, co-creation. These are some of our past themes, and this year is manifestation, as we're literally tracking our progress from the beginning of us launching the Greater Reset, and then myself getting land, John Bush getting land, other people in our community getting land, and we can see that we are actually all progressing and moving forward in our goals, and that's the beautiful thing about the whole thing. Okay, so let me tell you about my next book project. I've actually got 2 book projects I'll tell you about. One and then the other, mentioned briefly. I'm working on a book about fluoride, and it's actually about the fluoride lawsuit. This is not going to be a history of fluoride and how it happened and the corruption. That's already been done in the book, The Fluoride Deception, which I highly encourage you to watch, or to read, There is a documentary named the same thing. Oh God, I hope I don't get caught in some rain. But my book is going to be focused on the fluoride lawsuit, the lawsuit against the EPA that I've been reporting on for several years now through The Last American Vagabond and in different interviews I've done. I am now interviewing a lot of the plaintiffs and the people involved in the lawsuit, and I'm going to try to write a true crime style narrative kind of nonfiction book. So it's going to be facts but it's going to be told from the perspective, the emotional perspective of the moms who are part of the lawsuit, the lawyers fighting the lawsuit, and why do they feel so passionate about this, and then as well, of course, we'll mix in the truths that are being exposed and the lies from the EPA and the fact that fluoride is a neurotoxin that can lower IQ in children. All those things will be in there, but I want to tell it instead of just being on this day they went to court and this is what happened, this is what happened, this is what happened. Then on the next day they went to court. I want it to be engrossing, to pull you in, like in a narrative style. So that's a book I'm working on with a publisher. I'm going to submit the proposal soon, so just, you know, pray for me, wish me luck, whatever. Hopefully soon I'll get to announce that the publisher has accepted it, and I'll tell you who their name is. But until then, I'm just going to keep that under wraps as I work on that proposal. And that's one of the reasons why I was taking a break. The other book I'll mention really quickly is I'm working on what'll probably be a small book, but it's going to be coming out next year, February 2024, if all goes well. And it's going to be called Smash the State, and a biography of Samuel Konkin III, who's the founder of agorism. The death date, his 20th anniversary of his death date is coming up in February 2024. He died in February 2004. And his work has been a huge inspiration for myself and the Greater Reset and the Freedom Cell Network and the Exit Build movement. And even people who don't know his work, I've helped get it translated into different languages now. And I want to release this book as well as try to organize some sort of international gathering of people who are inspired or, you know, excited by his work and legacy, and see where we're at now. Because he died before things like cryptocurrency and really the internet took off, and mesh networks and 3D printing and all this great stuff that allows for independence and decentralization. So I'm working on that too. The other thing I'll mention, we are going to release very soon, hopefully real soon, chapter 14 of the Pyramid of Power. Whew, guys, this has been this is definitely a labor of love. We started working on this in spring of 2021. Here we are in the fall of 2023, going into November, and we're about to release the 14th episode, which just leaves me with 15, which is the pedo class, and then 16, which is secret societies and religion. And then the final episode is going to answer who's at the top of the pyramid of power, who or what. And so that's what we've got left, and I'm working on that. My amazing editor, Becca, is working on episode 14 right now. I've already written it, recorded it. I might do one new interview for it. The chapter 14 is going to be on the false flag deception. You're really going to want to see this one. And once these are all out, by next year at some point, we will be releasing them, maybe as a set of DVDs for those who still want them, but definitely as USBs you can just buy or download or whatever, and support me and my efforts for that. So I'm excited to share that. I know some of you really follow the Pyramid of Power series, and I appreciate it. Like I said, it's a labor of love. We don't really make much money off it all right now. Some of you have helped fund it over the years, and I'm really grateful for that. We've done a couple of crowdfunding rounds, and you guys have helped pay the editor, so thank you for that. And yeah, I'll keep you posted on that. And I should mention, the pyramidofpower.net is the website if you want to go catch up and see the Pyramid of Power. It's also on the consciousresistance.com, but its own standalone website is the pyramidofpower.net, and you can see all the episodes that have been released so far, including our Spanish translations. And the last thing I'll mention, to kind of bring it full circle, talking about passions and, you know, doubting myself, or just wondering, like, man, is journalism the only thing I'm supposed to do? Not to say only in a bad way. Like, I love this, man. I love my life. I get to go confront politicians, or try to. I get to write articles about things I'm passionate about and try to share that information, and do videos and travel. I don't make a whole lot of money, and I want to make more money. I need to make more money if I'm going to continue to do this. So if you want to sign up on buymeacoffee.com/Derrick Broze for a monthly support of $5 or $10, that goes a long way. If you want to sign up through Substack, derrickbroze.substack. If you want to go to theconsciousresistance.com/invest and check out my crypto addresses or my P.O. box address if you want to send checks or mail. If you want to buy shirts like our No Masters, No Slaves shirts, or some of our other shirts, that all supports as well. Buy my books. These are all things you can do while you consume my content if you want to help. And for those who can and do, I appreciate it. For those who can't and don't, I appreciate you tuning in anyways. And nonetheless, what you can do is share for me. So to bring it full circle, as I said, I want to progress my life and my goals when it comes to music. And I have journalism goals, these books I've just mentioned, finishing the Pyramid of Power. And I've got a couple more books in me, but I've also got a couple more albums of music, specifically of hip hop, under the name that I perform under, 33. You can find me at 33ishere.com. And I've explained this plenty of times, but I'm sure if I don't explain it again, I probably have to, or somebody will say something in the comments. I'm not a Freemason or anything like that, guys. I started rapping at 33 years old. I'm 38 now. That was the year my birth father died of a drug overdose. You know, just a lot of influential things. The number 33, for one, numbers and symbols do have power and meaning, and the hierarchy enslaving you or attempting to enslave you, they know that and they use these, but that doesn't mean they have monopoly. They have a monopoly on them. The intention within any given sigil or number or symbol or whatever is what really matters. And for me, 33 is about healing. It's about transformation, or as my first album was called, transmutation. And I've turned my life around, like I said, with talking about my drug addiction and depression and my lawsuit and everything. And so my album is all about those struggles through drugs and everything, and coming out of that. And I still love it. I'm working on some music videos for it, but I'm also working on some new music that I'll be releasing, and I'm gonna be performing at the Greater Reset in January if you wanna come down to Mexico. But also, I am performing in just a few weeks here in Houston, actually 3 weeks from today, on November 19th at Axelrad. For anybody who is hearing this and actually in Houston and wanna hear my music, 33 Conscious Hip Hop in person, we're gonna have 3-4 different acts, 3 confirmed so far, including myself, bring in my hip hop style. We're gonna have a couple of there's some post-pop punk, I think they call themselves pop punk, just some groovy stuff from Jeremy Carswell and Shop 29 and some other artists. So in case you happen to be hearing this in Houston and you wanna come meet me in person or hang out in person, I will have some leftover Broze for Mayor shirts there. I will have my books there for sale, and I'll have some of my music as well if you wanna come pick that up. Or just hang out, say hi, dance, chill, whatever. But I'm just trying to put my heart into my passions, including making music. So if I start to slow down content creation at any point, just know that I'm here. I'm still fighting for truth. It might come through the form of a book or a speech or a documentary or running for office, or it might come in the form of a song, of an album, I don't know, whatever. The point is I'm gonna fight no matter what. And I hope you guys will follow and support and keep up with my journey no matter what. So thank you guys for letting me do this walk and talk and just kind of rant and rave and clear my mind, because I've really been needing to do this. I'm gonna try to get back to walk and talks regularly again. If you enjoyed this, let me know. In the meantime, I'm gonna come back here and get out of this bench because it got so hot over here. And I'm gonna find a quiet space to chill and read this book, The French Revolution, A Study in Democracy by Nesta Webster, which if you don't know about it, I encourage you to go check it out. It's gonna become part of my research for the Pyramid of Power series, probably the final episode. So stay tuned, guys. Till next time, remember, you're powerful, you're beautiful, you are free.